Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, we got a great show for you today. Of course, as it's been the last few days, the last few weeks, it's pretty much Corona 24/7, and it's hard to kind of get away from. So we're going to start out with a story of Corona making Trump look better. Is the coronavirus actually helping President Trump to look better on the national scene? According to this article that we'll be doing, it appears so, and it's got a few people worried. Now, TDS, if you don't know what TDS is, it's the Trump Derangement Syndrome. Believe it or not, it appears that Trump Derangement Syndrome is one of the reasons why the $2 trillion stimulus package was delayed for a time, and I'll explain that. And then say it ain't so, Corona is changing Hollywood perhaps forever. Whether or not it's for the better could be up to question, but we'll get into that. But we start with a Breitbart story. Critics, Trump ratings up because evening news inadvertently making POTUS, President of the United States, for those of you who might not understand that, look competent. So according to this article, they're saying basically that the evening news, inadvertently, they're not trying to, but they're making Donald Trump look better or look competent, according to Breitbart. As President Donald Trump's approval ratings hit an all-time high, Trump's critics are now arguing that the nightly news broadcasts are inadvertently, because they would never help Trump on purpose, upping his ratings by inadvertently making Trump seem coherent and competent. So that's a pretty big insult to start with, right? That they're implying that he's incoherent and incompetent. I thought, you sure they're not talking about Joe Biden? And presidential, he's looking presidential by truncating his rambling responses during the coronavirus critics. So let me get this straight. I got to think about this so I understand it. So what they're saying here is that the networks are editing the Trump coronavirus updates in such a way that it actually is beneficial to the president? You don't say. Interesting, man. Interesting. Are you buying or selling that? I'm not so sure, but we'll see. Let's read on. The President Watch, it's a group called Press Watch. Press Watch Dan Frumikin argued that the broadcast network shouldn't break into regular programming to show the briefings live anymore. In other words, Trump's briefings, they've been breaking into them, showing them live. Some of them last a couple of hours, but they're showing the highlights of them. Watching them unfiltered, this gentleman says, makes their viewers dumber and less safe. So maybe we need to check this old boy's temperature, because it sounds to me like he's got Trump derangement syndrome. He's literally saying that watching President Trump makes you dumber and less safe. Well, maybe that explains him, because he apparently has been watching a whole lot of Trump. If that's true, maybe Joe Biden has been watching way too much Trump, man. Frumikin continued, more often than not, mainstream reporting on even the most incoherent, contradictory Trump briefing consists of cherry-picking quotes to make him sound coherent. So, boy, they are full of venom and all this, right? And in no way whatsoever indicate the true nature of the lunacy. So if you're watching President Trump, you're watching lunacy. To some degree, Mr. Frumikin said, we're getting the worst of both worlds right now. When Trump says something outrageous, the media unthinkingly broadcasts it live, then ignores it. And so he says the true nature of lunacy. And I think he's got a point. We are beginning to understand with Trump's broadcast, with President Trump's updates on the coronavirus, we are beginning to really understand the true nature of lunacy. But it's not Donald Trump's lunacy, it's the media's lunacy. So I decided I would look up the word lunacy to see if I'm getting this correct, because I believe it describes the media. Lunacy, one of the definitions, because words matter. If you're first time tuning into my show, one of the things here, I come from a long line of school teachers on both sides of my family. So I was always teaching something. And one thing I learned, words matter. Lunacy, wild foolishness, extravagant folly. In other words, TDS. I mean, that describes TDS to me. That describes the coverage, if you will, of Donald Trump's entire presidency. Wild foolishness and extravagant folly. One thing about President Trump, boy, excuse me here, I had a little technical difficulty. See, I can handle it. Joe Biden would have flipped out right now. Joe Biden would have collapsed under that, simple thing like that. But not me. Billy Bob keeps me straight. If you hadn't met my psychic sidekick, by the way, it's Billy Bob Bass. Maybe I should send Billy Bob, don't worry, I ain't going to do it, to poor old Joe Biden to keep him straight, because he keeps me straight all the time. He's got a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. And if you wonder, yeah, I am the fish whisperer. I talk to fish. Some of us are sicker than others. Just look it up. New York Times columnist Jamal Bowie said that the evening news broadcast could also be making Trump seem more competent because they have a limited amount of time to air Trump's words. So the fact that they have a limited time to air Trump is making him look more competent. I can tell you that strategy is not working for Joe Biden. Because, of course, when he talks a lot, he looks pretty foolish. And when he talks a little, he looks dadgum incompetent. Bowie flagged a tweet about evening news broadcasts last week, seeing a 42% increase in viewership. 32 million viewers from last year said that this may explain the president's approval rating. So they've got to explain. It can't possibly be that Donald Trump's approval ratings, which hit, as we reported a couple days ago. If you want to see, by the way, a podcast of our show, there's a couple ways of doing it. You can go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page, like it, share it with others. You can go to our YouTube channel, John Martin Talks YouTube. We're broadcasting now up to date. We got that back up to speed and running good. Or you can go to America's Voice News, which we're thrilled to be on. They rebroadcast our show every weekday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We're not only on the free apps of Apple, iPhone. I've got an iPhone. We're on iPhone. We're on Android. Free download the free app now. We're streaming on Fire Stick, Roku, and Amazon TV for you, Joe Biden. You can check that out. And we're also on now Universal on Dish Network. Yes, we're going universal wide. Ancient Aliens can watch us now on channel 219. So we are thrilled to bring it to you. And our videos can be found archived on America's Voice News internet site and on their webpage. One of them things with the bells and whistles and knobs and tubes, right? But these videos are not working for Joe Biden. So, maybe he ought to take a page from Donald Trump. I doubt he can. Bowie flagged this tweet, about 32 million views. He said, the president's approval rating, and by the way, he's at 49% job approval rating, 60% approval rating for how he's handling coronavirus, 49% overall, which is the biggest he's had since his presidency. Who would have thought that this far into it, if he's a bumbling, stumbling fool that some of the media make him, why are the American people actually approving? Because maybe they're getting truly woke, and there may be people actually watching. Believe it or not, there may be people actually watching Mr. Trump in action for the first time, and they're getting truly woke by it because they're home when they're not normally home. But Trump, who appears more competent than he is as a result of editing. So I'm still trying to get my mind around this. So the evening news is helping President Trump. Are you with that? Are you buying or selling? Let me just use a line from the Democrats. It's an oldie but a goodie. If true, I'm good with it. If they're actually helping him, I'm good with it. They owe him one or two, don't you think? As Frumkin pointed out, the nation's most eminent media critics are virtually unanimous that television networks should stop the live broadcasting of the White House's daily coronavirus briefings. So they should stop in the middle of the worst they're basically saying we're in the end times right now, and the world is just going, and the United States is the epicenter, is what I'm hearing now. But now is the time when we need to cut off information from the White House. Imagine that. Does that not show you just how lunacy they are, how lunatic the left really is? It says, because Trump has turned into a torrent of dangerous lies, misinformation, and self-aggrandizement. So I guess what they really want him to do is come on. Maybe they could just cut this down. I'm listening to all this and I'm asking myself, well, what do they really want? So maybe we could just cut it down to Trump could just get out, as I've said this in my show before, but if I say it, it bears repeating. Trump could simply go, "Good morning." And then he could say, "We're all going to die. Someday we will." I mean, is that what they want for Trump? I mean, end of story. We're all going to die. I'm safe at the White House. I got toilet paper. You don't. I mean, what do they want, man? If you kind of tuned in, as I say, for the first time, you'll see what I try to be is seriously entertaining. I hope I'm reaching that point. You got to have something to do. You might as well look at an old cracker country boy like me from the great state of Florida. But cable news producers and hosts are struggling to figure out how to prevent Trump from hijacking. So this is his press briefings, and he's hijacking them. Hijacking the briefings and turning them into virtual campaign rallies. Now, they got no problem with Mario Cuomo, the new front runner in the Democratic primary, by the way. They got no problem with him just espousing old Trump's trying to kill my mama and all that in his news conferences for like 2 hours. They got no issue with that. But Trump is hijacking. I mean, no one can get a word in edgewise with Cuomo, man. You're killing my mama. I'm going to remember that. But here, and they say, so he's hijacking his briefings, Donald Trump, and turning them into virtual campaign rallies. That's actually a pretty good idea. I've been thinking about it. I got a friend of mine. His name is Cliff. Howdy, how you doing, my friend? So I want to give him some credit there. He said what the president ought to do is just have a virtual rally. And I added to that, we need to have him where you have to sign up for it, just like you would a rally, because that data is what they really need. So this is a side, if you really want to help President Trump and use his resources wisely in the upcoming campaign when it actually happens, sign up for any of these things and give your data to them, to the Trump campaign, because that actually will save them a lot of time and money. So I'm always trying to help here. And so if the networks are really worried about playing Donald Trump too much and Cuomo gets a little bit boring, they could put unedited videos of Joe Biden. He just had, if you hadn't been following it, Joe Biden is trying to, get out there he put a studio apparently in his basement. I'm sure he went, "Where's all the tubes? I don't see any tubes." I could see him saying that when they were building his studio. But apparently in his first couple, he had an issue or two. And I'm going to show you a clip in just a minute. This is a real unedited clip. You don't have to edit Joe Biden, man. I don't think it's possible, actually. But this is a real clip where he's lost his train of thought. He doesn't know how to work a teleprompter. And he's telling his staff like, "Hey, come on. Anyway, you check it. I report. You decide. Check it out.
Beef up the number of responders dealing with these crush of cases. And in addition to that, we have to make sure that we are in a position that we are. Well, let me go to the second thing. I've spoken enough of that. The president must use the Defense Production Act.
That's good enough. I think you get it. He's going like, come on. I have to tell Billy Bob, man. Come on. Help me. I think I spoke enough about that, so I'll move on. But Biden, man, the gift that keeps on giving. Are you really? Let me ask this. I've been asking this question for the last several days. I'm probably going to keep asking it. And you can chime in on whatever Facebook network you're listening to. Citizens for Trump, John Martin Talks. Howdy, how y'all doing? Good morning. Media Measures or America's Voice News. We're on that Facebook as well. Chime in on there and tell me what you think, and I will respond to you as quickly as I possibly can. And we got people worldwide now. But I've been asking this question for a while now in various forms or fashion. And let me simplify this. If you're prepping, it doesn't really matter anywhere in the world, but right here in the good old United States of America, if you're trying to get your household in order for what may be coming, economic downturn, virus, heaven forbid, danger coming to your house, stranger danger, or whatever. And Joe Biden, forget the fact that he's running for president. If he was a member of your family, like your grandfather or something, would you put him in charge, seriously, of running your preparation for your household? Would you really? Can you look at yourself in the mirror and say you would really do that? Or would you take kindness to the old gent, put him out in the rocking chair on the porch like we got here in Florida, and say, "Don't worry, Joe, Grandpa, Papa, whatever, Big Papa like my grandkids call me, we got this"? Would you do that? I mean, and if you can answer yourself truly, Then ask yourself this: if he's not ready for prime time at your own, taking care of your own house, would you want him in the White House? I don't get it. I'm just being I'm not saying that with any relish. I don't relish knocking Joe Biden for his obvious issues. But if he's running for president, we have to. We have no choice. According to the Daily Beast, privately, several staffers at CNN, so they're talking at CNN, and of course, don't discount MSNBC. They have acknowledged that airing Trump's pressers live and in full likely amplifies the spread of misinformation. Now, he lets the Surgeon General talk, Dr. Fauci, all these different professionals talk all the time, and Mike Pence. Let me just say this. I hadn't really done it much, but let's give a special shout out to Vice President Mike Pence. Maybe the best vice president ever. But I'm telling you, this guy is standing strong. And President Trump you could tell when he first picked Pence, I was a little skeptical because I didn't really know him that well. But President Trump, man, he showed right off the bat that he knows what he's doing when he picked that dude. But so at MSNBC, and CNN, they're worried about the Trump pressures. An NBC News insider even reportedly told the outlet that Trump needs to be quarantined. It ain't about the disease. We got to quarantine Trump like he has the coronavirus. This person is anonymous, of course, said, I think the best way to handle a president in the briefing is that you handle the president like you handle the virus. I didn't think you're supposed to handle the virus. He has to be contained and quarantined, and his falsehoods have to be scrubbed so they're going to get out there and Lysol him, I guess. Scrubbed so that they don't rub off on you. So what they're really saying to the American people, because this is live. One of the things my dad, who was a prominent political figure back in the day, he used to tell me when I was thinking about running for office that when you give an interview, make sure you understand whether it's live, because then you can say whatever you want. There's nothing they can do. If they're going to edit it, there's a certain talent to this. Make sure that whatever you say, you get your message out. That no matter how they edit it, your message comes out. And there is actually a skill to doing that. So they're saying this is live TV. So the people are seeing the president. So they're saying to the American people, don't believe your lying eyes. You can't believe them. And trust them. Trust Rachel Maddow. Trust Jake Tapper or Don the Lemon. Trust them in the mainstream media. In them we shall trust. In your own lying eyes? No way. But, and of course, they have your best interests at heart. Really, Jake Tapper and all those guys, the trap master, they have your best interests at heart. Don't worry. These are the same people, by the way, at CNN that hired Andrew Gillum. I got some pictures of that dude that I can't even put on this show, and that ain't even a family show. I'd have to cover Billy Bob's eyes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look up the latest news on Mr. Andrew Gillum that came within an eyelash of being governor of our great state. And let me tell you, I'll put our governor, Ron DeSantis, up against anybody. He is doing a great job. But the most recent Gallup poll, and I kind of alluded to this, but I want to expand upon it. The most recent Gallup poll found that 60% of Americans approve of how Trump is handling the corona crisis, while his job approval rating is at 49%, an all-time high. OMG, man, something got to be done. They can't let Trump keep running loose like this. He's winning. While they're whining and whining and whining in the corner, he's winning. So, I got an idea. If they're tired of Trump and they're trying to help Joe Biden and they want you to be entertained, I'm assuming they want their ratings to go up, I got an idea. Let's make a compromise. I'd be willing to say, okay, let's forgo our freedom of speech for this instant, and we will remove Donald Trump from the airways in exchange for playing this video in a continuous loop.
Hey, I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
In case you hadn't seen that, you haven't been watching my show, I do play that probably ad nauseum, but I just can't get enough of that video, man. It's really Joe Biden. It's not edited. It's just some talented people put what he said in the Corn Pop famous video into an animated deal. But I'll compromise with you. Take Trump off the air, and I'll hedge my bets by letting you play that video on a continuous loop. Trump 2020 and a landslide, baby, if they do. Democrats delayed. This is a new story now. We're moving on to a new story from Politico. Democrats delayed stimulus bill to insert tighter ban on Trump family profiteering. So I know this is probably hard for you to believe, but one of the delays apparently, now they've passed the stimulus bill in the Senate. I don't think it's actually passed the House, but it's kind of hard to keep up with right now. But one of the delays in the process was because the Democrats in the Senate were actually trying to make sure that that Donald Trump or any member of the Trump family or anybody associated with Donald Trump don't make a nickel off the stimulus. Hey, I'm actually okay with that, but it's crazy when you really think about it. And I don't think the president's worried about making money. He's losing money, for God's sake. He's probably the only man that has ever run for president and took a pay cut to do it. I mean, the rest of them leave. They go in paupers, they come out millionaires. It's just crazy. The Senate was about to approve the largest recovery bill in U.S. history on Wednesday night when Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, let's pray to God he stays Minority Leader because we don't want him in the majority, that's for sure. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer hit pause, realizing something was missing. There's something mistake in this multi-thousand-page document or whatever. Something's missing. There's something ain't right here. There's not enough punishment in it. He said tighter language limiting the money President Donald Trump and his family would get from the stimulus. Now, you can't make this stuff up. So you're telling me that this dude and the Democrats are holding up the stimulus package because they want to make darn sure that Donald Trump or none of his businesses actually profit. Keep in mind, the man's got hundreds of businesses. He's got every right as any other American citizen, but no, we got to deny. I mean, Donald Trump is not only not above the law, but according to the Democrats going back to impeachment, he's beneath the law. He doesn't even get his basic due process, in the dungeon of the Capitol building. Now he's not even due what every citizen of the United States is due from this stimulus packet. It is absolute. Not only is it unfair, but it is ludicrous, man. Lunacy of the left, like they say, the lunacy. We are seeing, that writer was right. We are seeing the lunacy during this time, but it ain't coming from Trump. Democrats and Republicans had already agreed to revise a clause that would bar money from going to the Trump family-owned businesses during the novel coronavirus outbreak. So everybody else can get some money, but Trump, he got to go broke. We got to punish. It ain't enough for him to suffer. We got to make sure that his kids and grandkids suffer as well. I mean, their hatred is it's laughable, but it's sad and it's sick and it's dark and doesn't it just make you kind of sad how much they hate this guy? But the update was not in the final printed legislation, this piece banning Trump. So they had to have the Trump piece, in there. It's just update. And the final printed legislation, according to two people familiar with the situation. So President Donald Trump is not only not above the law, but he's beneath the law. And now he didn't even do the rights of a simple citizen of the United States. I mean, man, wow. For 2 hours, Schumer held up passage of the bill as the stricter language was inserted. The people said the Senate passed the bill just before midnight. Man, let me ask you, how much do they hate this dude? How much do they hate Donald Trump that they're trying to hurt his entire family, including his grandchildren and people yet to be born? Like Biden was saying, the coronavirus is going to kill people who hadn't died yet, who have never died before. But these guys, man, how much do they hate this dude? It really is. Trump derangement syndrome is real. And it's just unbelievable. And it doesn't stop there. Schumer told Politico, that's whose story we're reading, he said, we told Republicans it was unacceptable to omit strict prohibitions on Trump businesses having access to the Treasury lending. So I guess they pictured Donald Trump like in some hidden basement, like National Treasure. He's discovered what the Knights Templar have buried here or something, and he's down there going, it's all mine. It's all mine. It's just like, is he like living at Fort Knox? It's just insane. But it said it's critical transparency measures and that we would hold up the bill, this is Chuck Schumer's word, until they included them in the final text. So you could be dying on the streets. People could be dying for ventilators in the hospital, but we're going to hold it up to make dadgum sure that Donald Trump or anybody that's remotely, we might not have enough tests for coronaviruses, but we'll test your DNA. And if it has DJT in your DNA, we ain't going to let you have a dime. I mean, these people are crazy. They relented, and these important accountability provisions, talking about the Republicans' cave. Republicans, it's bipartisanship, which if you're just tuning in my show, let me give you one of my definitions, or the definition of bipartisanship. It always means Republicans' cave. It just, that's what it means. You tell me, show me one place where you had bipartisanship where the Democrats went to the Republican side. It don't ever work that way. But it says that so these were successfully added to the bill. So the bottom line on this, it sounds to me like TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, trumps love of country. So you put hatred of Trump before love of country. What happened to love, Trump, hate? I don't know. I guess that explains Joe Biden. And when I say that, it means I'm not talking about his willy-nilly ways acting. We know what's wrong with him. They just won't admit it. But it explains why they're backing Joe Biden. Any port in the storm. I call him Bloated Joe because he was a lousy candidate before. He's a lousy candidate now, and he will be in the future. And basically, he was dead on arrival into South Carolina, and his old bloated body was floating in the water. And the Democrats who hate Trump so much that that's their only issue grabbed him like they would a drowning man would grab anything. That explains Joe Biden. The updated language was meant to address a loophole in the original clause which barred the bill's loans from going to businesses that were at least 20% owned by the president or children, spouses, and in-laws. So just 20% of DNA of Donald Trump gonna get you, ain't gonna get no hay if you got that, man. I guess these guys, would they have confiscated George Washington's liquor? I mean, George Washington, prior to Donald Trump, was by far the wealthiest man, and by the standards at the time, he might have been the wealthiest man in the entire country at the time. And he made most of his money through booze. He was a great distiller. I mean, if you ever watch that show, Moonshiners, they talk about the George Washington rum and brandy and all that kind of stuff. They're trying to mimic it. I like that show, by the way, because it reminds me, not the moonshining part, but the way they talk and they walk reminds me of the people I grew up with. It's kind of, I mean, that's probably why some people like my show. In case I say you're new to it, I consider myself a little bit John Wayne, a little bit Mark Twain, and a little bit Duck Dynasty. The bill also was missing a second provision, and thank God that this lady stepped forward. The bill was also missing a second provision that Schumer and Senator Elizabeth Warren had pushed, indicating that the Treasury Department had to publish the companies receiving the loans every 7 days. So I guess Miss Liawapa, as I call her, she said, without this language, this information could have been kept secret from the public. Thank God Liawapa is back, man. I mean, she's back on board. She wasn't going to be president, but thank God she's on top of it. Because let me just tell you, no one wants fraud and waste. But if anybody knows about fraud, it's that gal right there. It's Liawapa Pocahontas, man. She can tell you about fraud. She is one of the most experienced fraudsters ever on the scene. So we're in good hands. Don't it make you feel good, all warm inside? Can you imagine being quarantined with this gal? You know, some of the senators are having to quarantine themselves. Can you imagine having to be quarantined with Liz Warren, what that would be like? What Billy Bob's telling me, wait a second, hang on a minute, let me adjust this here. He's telling me that we actually have video from quarantined Elizabeth Warren. If that's true, we want to see it. Breaking right here on JMT. Let's play it.
A beer. Hey, Robert, my husband Bruce is now in here. You want a beer?
No, I'll pass on the beer for now.
You sure? Come over and say hello to folks.
Yes.
So, this is my sweetie.
Hello.
And I'm crazy.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
I'm glad you're here.
Enjoy your beer.
Who have we got here so far? Skylar, and 14 others. Hello, Denise. Hi. Fortnite. Good to see you. Who else have we got? Kenny, is that right? Kenny and the boys? I'm glad to see you. Is that Greenie Goddess? Wow. That's a name I'd like to have.
Greedy guy, that's good enough. I can't take no more of it. Look at that. Woo!
So, or is my mother on?
That's good. I mean, thank you, Billy Bob, for playing. Can you imagine being quarantined with her? She don't even know how to drink. You're like, and she's talking about, I'm glad to see all 14 of y'all in here. You know, that should have been a sign right there, Ms. Warren, that you were in trouble when only 14 people tune into your live cast, podcast, or whatever, man. You know, I can tell you right now, if I had to risk being in there with her or Corona on the street, I'm going full-blown Corona myself. But Elizabeth Warren is back, baby, and she's on the top, and she's making it all right, because you don't have to worry about fraud, because the top fraudster is in charge, large and in charge. All right, back to the business here of the article. Billy Bob says, get back to it. Before he was sworn into office, Trump was urged to fully separate from his company, check this out, from his company, which compromises more than 500 businesses. Donald Trump has established 500 businesses. I always talk about, well, he went bankrupt 4 times or 3 times or whatever. Never personally went bankrupt. He went bankrupt 4 times, and that's routine for a big business. And I guarantee you the banks that lost money were the first ones in line to take on the next project, because the man's a winner. 500 businesses he's got, and he keeps them all secret, doesn't he? We never know a Trump business. You'll never know when Donald Trump owns a business, because he is so secretive. He literally puts his name on the front. Trump! You just don't have to. I mean, do you think Donald Trump? Yeah, Trump. He owns that one right there. I mean, the Moscow Project and all that kind of stuff. It's ludicrous what these people have come up with. If you put in line, I mean, we're dealing with coronavirus right now, and you know, I pray, as I say at the end of most of my shows, I pray for your family, you pray for mine. But if you really look at all the crap that Donald Trump has had to put up with in like the 3.5 years or whatever he's been up there, man, it is unbelievable. And nothing is more full of crap than their idea of his business holding. I mean, that's why we elected him, right? He placed his holdings, Trump did, in a trust designed to hold assets for his benefit. In other words, he could have divested everything he owned. I mean, they wanted him to literally get rid of everything he owned. You know, I mean, what did any of these other people own when they became president? Maybe the Bushes or something like that. But what did the Clintons own? Maybe a couple of properties with a couple of trailers, you know, the ones you roll that dollar bill through in Arkansas, you know, or something like that. And Obama had a house in Chicago. He's got a house now, like on the beach. Obama, side note here, did you know that Obama, who is like so worried about climate change, he spent like $15 million or some crazy figure like that for a beachfront home. And this is the dude that's worried about your climate change, man. But so they said that he's in this trust for his benefit. He said he can withdraw, and this is shocking. Is it not? Listen to this very carefully. I got to calm down and say this, because I want you to know this. It's got to be true. He can withdraw money, Donald Trump, from the trust anytime without the public's knowledge. Oh my God. Donald Trump. So let me get this straight. I just want to make sure I understand this, because this could change everything. So Donald Trump can spend his own money anyway, anytime he wants to. Impeach 45. You got to, right? So an American citizen who owns 500 companies, who worked his way to the top, can spend his money anytime, anyway, anywhere he wants to. Wow. You know, how un-American is that, man? But I hate to tell you, snowflakes, this, you're probably going to freak out. This is when I give you these melting warnings. You back up a few feet, because I'm about to say something that's going to melt you. And if what I say melts, you deserve to be melting. The fact that Donald Trump was a successful businessman is one of the main reasons we voted for the dude. This is no secret to Trump. So you haven't revealed some grand conspiracy here. We're hoping to be like Trump. I said it. Yeah, I said it. American people want to be like Trump. They want to. I mean, how many people wouldn't want? I mean, I got to tell you, if I could put up a skyscraper that said John Martin on it, I would. I'd just be happy to work for him again. I did work on some projects he had back in my day. Never met the man. I hope to one day. Seen him from afar. said Representative Gary Connolly, Democrat from Virginia, this is a long, but this is important, a House Oversight Committee member who chairs the subcommittee. So this guy is the chairman of a subcommittee, and guess what the only function of this subcommittee is? This was news to me. It is just crazy. It shows you how ludicrous this is. So he chairs a subcommittee with jurisdiction over Trump's hotel in D.C. So they actually have a subcommittee in the House that just has oversight of Trump's hotel in Washington, D.C., which he took because it was going under, it was failing and going bankrupt, and he turned it into profitability. Oh, my. I mean, that doesn't qualify him. And like I say, Trump hides everything. So there's literally a committee to oversee Trump's hotel in D.C. Did you know that? I mean, I thought I knew a lot, but I didn't know that. But it doesn't surprise me because TDS, man, is real. It is absolutely real. This provision, according to this gentleman in the House, he said, this provision will ensure that the stimulus bill benefits American workers and small business, not the president's own self-interest. Wow. I don't know about you, but I am just so relieved that they spent a week trying to figure out this stimulus bill just to keep Donald Trump from earning any money, from getting any payment from basically denying President Donald Trump his constitutional rights. That's really what it comes down to. You can hate Trump all you want, but the fact that he's president doesn't take away his constitutional rights as an ordinary American citizen. It's just crazy, man. But Schumer hailed the language, he said, as one of the significant improvements. So we got a $2 trillion package, but one of the most significant improvements in it was to keep Donald Trump from getting any money. Made the bill in negotiation with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. So this guy right here, Schumer, thank God he's the minority leader. Let's keep him that way, and let's take back the House and keep Trump in the White House 2020. But these are the leaders of this, man. My God, man. I mean, this is who is leading us. It is absolutely sad and crazy. All right, well, we got one more story here. I mean, let me back up, man. Is there any limit to Trump derangement syndrome? Is there any limit to the hatred, the outright loathing of this man? And here's the thing you got to keep in mind before I go on to this next story. I hadn't said this in a while. There is one person out there in this country, that in the world really, there's one person that Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, the old Shifty Schiff, we hadn't talked about him in a while. I guess they got him hiding in the dungeon. You know who's probably hurting the most for this coronavirus? I just thought about Jerry Sadler, man. I mean, he can't even get to the hot dogs and stuff like that. And I know, because look at me. But there's one person, all of these people, the Jake Trappers, the media people, the Rachel Maddow, there's one person they hate and fear, especially fear, more than Donald Trump. You know who that is? It's you. It's you, the American people. They think that Donald Trump is a one-off, like the Brits say. They're hoping that he'll either get beat this time or he'll 4 more years and then he's gone and no one will ever raise again. That's one of the things they're doing in this bill we just talked about. They want to make sure that no one out there, and there is no one like Donald Trump, but assuming that there might be, even a member of his family, they want to make sure, darn sure, that you never have the courage to rise your head again. You got to be smacked down. Got to be punished. That's why we need a punishing election come 2020 and wipe these folks out. But there's one person they hate and fear most, and that's you, because they believe, they're hoping and praying that you just go home, and that's why they want to steal the election with the mail-in ballots and the internet. Don't let that happen. I'm telling you, if you just tune into my show, you don't get anything else out of it. Don't let that happen. Forget Donald Trump. If you care about the Republic, if you care about the Constitution, I'm telling you, you cannot allow this mail-in voting where they simply mail a ballot to everyone. You're talking about fraud like you've never seen before, and internet voting. Do I have to explain what they would do if we voted online? I mean, my God, what Google and all that. And I'm not saying Facebook. And let me just say, I hadn't said it in a while. I got to send love out to Al. Oh, Algorithm, man. You know I love you, Al. I don't want to fight with Al. That's one person in the world you do not want to battle with is Algorithm. So peace, brother. But let me just tell you, they fear you because they don't understand you. They just don't get it. They really think that you're sitting there going like, yeah, I was a Trump supporter, but he was trying to get money from the treasurer, and now, yeah, I'm gone. They don't get it that we elected the dude because he's successful, because he has 500 businesses. That is a plus, ladies and gentlemen. That means, he ain't beholden to anybody but the American people. They just don't get us. They don't get you, but they fear you greatly. Trust me. All right, we're going to move on to something that may or may not be good news, depending on how you look at it. But Hollywood is being majorly impacted by the coronavirus. And this is from the Hollywood Reporter. A virus upends Hollywood. There may never be a return to normal. Oh, I don't even know what, I guess normal's a cycle on a washing machine. I ain't never been that. Amid the unprecedented shutdown of a movie theaters and entertainment production, major players are experimenting with new business models as digital platforms ascend and artists take up a DIY ethos. You have to adapt. So what they're talking about is that going to movie theaters and the way they make movies, of course, they're making them for the Chinese, really. If you didn't know that, I hate to break it to you. Hollywood major productions, they think of China before they think of you, Main Street America, that's for sure. And hey, they're trying to make a profit. I don't necessarily blame them for that. It's made the movies suck, but that's a whole nother issue. But they're thinking that this coronavirus may cause theaters to permanently shut down or certainly push a trend. So everybody is going streaming. They're trying to figure it out. The one thing, and I agree with all of this, we're going to get a little deeper in a second, but the one thing I'm hoping comes out of all this coronavirus when it comes to Hollywood is this meme right here. I got a meme I want to show you. I want to say I missed the popcorn, but I wanted to put this meme up. Show the famous people meme. Have we got that, Billy Bob? I got ahead of myself, but we're going to do like Biden and go to it. Anyway, we'll get to it in a minute. But long before public health crisis closed exhibitors' doors, the audience's retreat from the theater home video had driven both anxiety and opportunity at entertainment companies. But COVID-19 represents a watershed moment. But there it is right there. That right there. If we don't get anything else from Hollywood but that, and let me read that to you. The world has seen healthcare workers, truck drivers, grocery store employees, shout outs to all of them, have been more significant than NBA players, actors, and famous people. We really see who matters in this country. And one that's off the list there, I need to give a special shout out to, and I'm really in tune to this because I come from a family of railroad people, actually. And the railroad goes right through my town, the biggest freight rail spur in the state of Florida. Give a special shout out to the people on the trains because they're moving more freight right now, trying to keep this country going. And the truckers, it's all intertwined. But I'm hoping that we finally realize who really matters in this. But Hollywood, let me just give you this. Hollywood is worried having a Joe Biden moment. Hollywood is worried we may never leave home again. They're worried that you get used to being home, you ain't going to leave again. Let me tell you, and I don't think I said this, but of course if I did, it bears repeating. One of the reasons why these sports venues, at the first kind of big push on the stay-at-home deal, they were talking about having like NBA games without fans, races without fans, and all that kind of stuff. Let me tell you, there was legitimate concerns. I'm not downplaying that, but there was also, trust me on this, there were concerns that you might actually get used to watching it totally from home and not being a fan. College football, for instance, which I dearly love, is suffering from that because the home theaters are so much better now, and people are not going to live events and near the frequency they once were. So believe me, they were worried about having fanless events actually being successful. But Streamline, and here's the thing, streaming, it's part of the future. It's the present. It's going to only get bigger. And, the bottom line, let me check my time. I'm doing pretty good. I just want to say this, and you may or may not like it. But I still think progressives should be made to watch this one video in continuous loop. If we could single out, if we could use data for anything special, I would do it this way. I would make everyone who is for Joe Biden, who really believes that he should be the next president of the United States. When you click on your TV, if I could push a button, you'd have to watch this 24/7.
I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down So it was traded and then watch the hair come back up again. They look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
You should have to, if you're if you seriously want to put Joe Biden in the White House, we should make you watch that. Should like tape your eyes open. You'll have to go like, and sleep deprivation. You slap you across the face or whatever. Get some of our best CIA operatives up there and make you watch that 24/7. Because if you can watch that for 1 minute, and it's real, baby. I know the animation is animation, but the voice in there is actually Joe Biden. If you really, after all of this stuff, after what's happening, who knows what's going to happen, but if you really sit back and think that Joe Biden is the best choice for America at any time, but especially this time, I mean, God help us all if you actually believe that. I can't believe Trump derangement syndrome is real and getting worse all the time if Joe Biden has a chance in hell. Well, I hope you have a glorious, great weekend. I can't go fishing. They've actually shut down the marina, so maybe I'm forced to stay at home. I'm taking little walks with my granddaughter and stuff like that. We're doing the social distance thing from other people. But, as I've been saying for the last week, and I really and truly mean it, I know we got a lot of new listeners out there over the last few weeks. Thank you so much. I appreciate what's happening. We got a swag store that's about to open up. I meant to tell you, we got Second Amendment buckle. We got the Trump Get On Board. We'll probably be opening that by Monday. We'll keep you posted. But we got a lot of things in the pipeline. We're growing all the time. We owe it all to you. So what I've been saying, and I mean it sincerely from my heart, I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. But until then, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.